David's heart raced as he struggled to regain control of his ship. A loud bang echoed through the cockpit as the ship's engines sputtered and died. He glanced at the flashing red warning lights, realizing that his crash landing on an unknown planet was inevitable. The ground shook violently as the ship plummeted toward the planet's surface. David gripped the controls, doing his best to steer, but the craft was uncontrollable. With a deafening crash, the ship hit the ground, sending a shockwave through the air. When David finally opened his eyes, he found himself lying on the cold, metallic floor of the cockpit, the smell of burning fuel filling the air. His body ached, but he wasn't seriously injured. Taking a deep breath, he carefully unbuckled himself and pushed the shattered door open, stepping out into the alien world around him. The landscape was unlike anything he had ever seen. The sky was a strange purple hue, and the air felt thick with an unfamiliar scent. Giant trees with glowing leaves towered above him, their roots sprawling across the ground like massive snakes. The ground beneath his feet was soft, almost sponge-like, and the grass seemed to shimmer under the light from the two suns above. It was beautiful, but there was an eerie feeling in the air, an unsettling silence that made David's skin crawl. As he took his first few cautious steps, he noticed something moving in the distance. At first, he thought it was a shadow, but as it drew closer, he realized it was a figure, a person. He couldn't make out much at first, but then, as the figure came into clearer view, his breath caught in his throat. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Tall and graceful, with pale, silver skin that seemed to glow faintly under the light. Her long hair flowed behind her like liquid, a deep shade of blue that looked almost unnatural. But what stood out the most were her eyes. Bright, glowing blue eyes that seemed to pierce through him, as if she could see into his very soul. David froze, unsure of what to do. He didn't know if she was friend or foe, and instinct told him to be cautious. His hand hovered over the blaster on his belt, but he made no move to draw it. She seemed unarmed, her posture calm yet purposeful as she approached him. Who are you?" David called out, his voice shaky but firm. The woman didn't respond right away. Instead, she stopped a few feet in front of him, her eyes never leaving his face. She took a long, slow breath, and then, to David's surprise, she spoke in perfect English. "You've seen too much," she said, her voice soft yet urgent. "You have to leave this place. Now." David blinked in confusion. "What are you talking about? I don't even know where I am." His eyes scanned the unfamiliar landscape, still unsure of how to react. "My ship crashed. I don't have a choice but to stay here." She took another step forward, her gaze hardening. "You don't understand. You've come here at the worst possible time. My people will kill you if they find you. They don't tolerate outsiders." She seemed to hesitate, as if trying to find the right words. "You're in danger." David's mind raced. "Your people? Who are they? What do you mean?" The woman's eyes flickered nervously, and she glanced over her shoulder, as though expecting someone to appear at any moment. "They'll come for you. If you're smart, you'll run now before they get here." She stepped closer again, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Or you can marry me." David's eyebrows furrowed in disbelief. "What?" "I'm serious," she said, her tone still urgent. "If you marry me, my family will leave you alone. But if you refuse, my brothers will hunt you down, and they won't stop until they've killed you." David felt a chill run down his spine. This was insane. The whole situation felt surreal. A woman, an alien woman, no less, was standing in front of him, asking him to marry her in order to survive. He opened his mouth to protest, but the words stuck in his throat. Her eyes were locked on his, desperate and pleading, yet there was an undeniable strength in her presence. "I know this sounds crazy," she continued, her voice shaky, "but you don't have a choice. Please, you don't understand what they're capable of. If you're still alive when they find you, they won't hesitate. They'll destroy you." David couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had never imagined anything like this, and his mind was struggling to catch up with the situation. But one thing was certain. This was not a simple rescue mission. This woman, this alien, was in real danger, and so was he. The sound of footsteps approaching from the distance caught his attention. He turned his head, his heart racing. The woman, seeing his reaction, grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the trees. "Quickly, come with me," she whispered urgently. "They're coming. I can't protect you if you're caught out in the open." David had no choice. He followed her, running as fast as he could through the strange alien landscape, but the doubt and confusion still clouded his mind. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was just supposed to make a routine trip through space. But now, his life, and the life of this strange woman, hung in the balance. As they ducked behind a thick tree trunk, David's heart pounded in his chest. The woman's grip on his arm tightened as she held her breath, listening for any sign of the approaching threat. Her eyes were wide with fear, and David knew that whatever lay ahead, he was already in deeper than he ever could have imagined. And then, as if the tension couldn't get any worse, she whispered once again, "Marry me, or they'll kill you." David's breath was heavy as he crouched behind the thick tree trunk, his mind racing. The alien woman's grip on his arm was tight, her fingers trembling slightly. He could hear it now. Heavy footsteps, armor clanking, deep voices speaking in a language he didn't understand. Whoever they were getting closer. The woman turned to him, her glowing blue eyes filled with fear. "They're here," she whispered. "We don't have much time." David swallowed hard. "Who are they?" he asked in a hushed voice. "My brothers," she said, her voice barely above a breath. "They're warriors. If they find you, they will kill you." David's stomach tightened. He didn't know if he could trust her, but he also didn't have a choice. He peeked out from behind the tree, trying to get a look at the people hunting him. There were 3 of them, tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in dark armor that shimmered under the strange purple sky. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but their sheer size and the massive weapons they carried made it clear they were deadly. One of them sniffed the air and growled. "I smell an outsider," he said in a deep, guttural voice. "Find him." David pulled back quickly, his heart pounding. "They know I'm here," he muttered. The woman bit her lip, then suddenly grabbed his hand. "Come with me," she whispered urgently, pulling him deeper into the forest. David didn't resist. They ran through the glowing trees, their footsteps muffled by the soft ground. The sounds of pursuit grew louder behind them. They weren't losing the warriors. After what felt like an eternity, the woman finally stopped in front of what looked like an ancient stone structure, half hidden by vines. She placed her hand on a carved symbol on the wall, and a doorway slid open with a soft hum. "Inside," she urged. David hesitated for only a second before stepping in. The door closed behind them, just as heavy footsteps echoed outside. He held his breath, listening. The warriors stopped just beyond the wall. "I know she's hiding him," one of them snarled. "She's a fool if she thinks she can protect a human." There was silence for a moment. Then the warriors moved on. David let out a slow breath of relief, then turned to the woman. "All right," he said, still trying to catch his breath. "Now tell me the truth. What's going on?" She hesitated, then stepped forward. "My name is Lyra," she said softly, "and I just saved your life." David crossed his arms. "Yeah, I noticed. But why?" Lyra sighed and ran a hand through her long blue hair. "Because you're in the middle of something much bigger than you realize." David narrowed his eyes. "Explain." She hesitated again, but then she finally spoke. "My people hate humans," she admitted. "You are seen as invaders, a threat. If my brothers had found you, they wouldn't have given you a chance to speak. They would have killed you on sight." David exhaled sharply. "So why didn't you?" Lyra looked away. "Because I don't agree with them. And because I need your help." David frowned. "My help?" With what? She turned back to him, her eyes filled with desperation. If I claim you as my mate, they won't be able to harm you. Our laws forbid harming a bonded partner. It's the only way to keep you alive. David's head spun. You keep saying that. But why do you even care? You don't know me. Lyra bit her lip, looking conflicted. Then, after a moment, she whispered, because they're planning something terrible. Something that could put your entire species in danger. And if I help you, maybe you can stop it. David's blood ran cold. He had no idea what he had stumbled into, but one thing was clear. He was in far more danger than he had realized. David stared at Lyra, his mind racing. He had barely survived crashing on this planet. And now he was being told that not only was he in danger, but so was his entire species. He didn't know whether to believe her, but the desperation in her glowing blue eyes was undeniable. Before he could respond, a loud banging sound echoed through the hidden chamber. Someone was outside. Lyra's eyes widened in alarm. They found us, she whispered. David's pulse quickened. He glanced around the room, searching for a weapon, an escape route, anything. But before he could act, the stone door burst open, and 3 towering figures stormed inside. The alien warriors were even more intimidating up close. Their dark armor gleamed under the strange lights of the room, and their sharp, glowing eyes locked onto David instantly. One of them, the tallest, took a step forward. Lyra, he growled, his voice filled with rage. What have you done? David felt his body tense. The warrior's presence alone sent a wave of fear through him. Lyra, however, held her ground. He is mine, she said firmly. I have chosen him. The warriors stiffened, their expressions darkening. The tallest one, who David guessed was her eldest brother, clenched his fists. You dare bond yourself to a human? His voice was filled with disgust. You shame our family. Lyra lifted her chin. It is my right. Her brother's eyes flicked toward David, his gaze burning with hatred. If he is truly your mate, then let him prove it. David didn't like the sound of that. What do you mean, prove it? He asked, already dreading the answer. The eldest brother smirked, stepping closer until he loomed over David. A mate must be worthy, he said. And you, human, are not. He turned to the others. Take him to the proving grounds. If he survives, he may keep his worthless life. Before David could react, strong hands grabbed him, dragging him forward. He struggled, but their grip was too powerful. Stop, Lyra cried, trying to push past them, but another warrior blocked her path. Her brother gave her a cold look. If you truly wish to protect him, then let him fight for his place. David's heart pounded as he was hauled out of the chamber. This wasn't just about survival anymore. He was being thrown into a challenge he had no way of winning. And if he failed, he wouldn't just lose his life. He would lose any chance of stopping whatever dark plan Lyra had warned him about. David's heart pounded as the warriors dragged him through the massive stone halls of their fortress. The walls were carved with strange symbols, glowing faintly in the dim light. He had no idea where they were taking him, but from the way Lyra's brother spoke, he knew it wouldn't be good. After a few minutes, they emerged into a large arena. The ground was rough, uneven, and covered in strange marks, scars from previous battles. Tall stone walls surrounded the area, and above them, more aliens gathered, their glowing eyes watching in silence. The air was thick with tension. The warriors released David and stepped back. Across the arena, Lyra's eldest brother stood, his arms crossed, his expression cold. If you want to live, human, he said, his voice echoing through the arena, you will fight. David swallowed hard. Fight who? The answer came in the form of a deep, guttural roar. A massive gate on the far side of the arena rumbled open, and from the darkness, something stepped forward. David's blood ran cold. The creature was at least 3 times his size, with thick, armored skin and glowing red eyes. Its claws were long and sharp, and its mouth was filled with jagged teeth. It let out another roar, shaking the ground beneath David's feet. He took a step back. "You've got to be kidding me." Liara, standing behind the warriors, tried to push forward. "This isn't fair. He's not a warrior." Her brother shot her a glare. "Then he will die quickly." David clenched his fists. This wasn't a fight. This was an execution. The beast charged. David barely had time to react, diving to the side as the creature's massive claws slashed through the air where he had just been standing. Dust flew up around him as he hit the ground hard, pain shooting through his body. The crowd above murmured in interest. David scrambled to his feet, his mind racing. He couldn't win this with strength. He had to be smart. The creature turned toward him, its glowing eyes locked onto its prey. It lunged again. This time, David ran. He dodged to the side, rolling under the beast's swing. His eyes searched the arena, looking for anything he could use. His hands closed around a broken spear lying in the dirt, old, worn, but still sharp. He turned just as the creature charged once more. Instead of running, he stood his ground. The moment the beast lunged, David dodged at the last second and drove the spear into its exposed side. The creature let out a deafening roar, stumbling back in pain. The crowd gasped. Liara's eyes widened in shock. David didn't stop. He yanked the spear free and struck again, this time aiming for its leg. The beast collapsed with a furious howl, dust rising around it. Silence filled the arena. Then, the eldest brother stepped forward, his expression unreadable. He studied David for a long moment before finally speaking. "You fought well, human," he admitted, "but your trial is not over." David's breath caught. "What?" The warriors moved aside, and Liara's eldest brother stepped into the arena. He drew his weapon, a long curved blade that gleamed under the alien sun. "If you are to be her mate," he said coldly, "you must face me next." David's stomach twisted. He had barely survived the beast. Now he had to fight a trained warrior. And this time, there would be no escape. David's body ached. His breath came in short gasps, and his hands trembled from exhaustion. He had barely survived the fight with the beast, and now Liara's eldest brother stood before him, blade in hand, ready to finish what the monster had started. The crowd above the arena was silent, their glowing eyes locked onto the two figures standing in the dust. Even Liara held her breath, fear and desperation in her expression. Her brother took a slow step forward, his sharp gaze never leaving David. "You survived the beast," he said, "but that was strength against instinct. This is strength against skill." David clenched his fists. "I'm not a warrior," he said, his voice raw. "I never asked for this." The warrior smirked. "And yet, here you are." With a sudden movement, he lunged. David barely had time to react. He ducked, rolling to the side as the blade sliced through the air, missing him by inches. He scrambled to his feet, but the warrior was already on him again. A powerful kick struck David in the chest, sending him stumbling back. Pain shot through his ribs. He gasped, struggling to stay upright. He was outmatched, completely. The warrior circled him like a predator, his blade gleaming. "You are weak," he said. "You do not deserve her." David's mind raced. He couldn't win a fight like this. His opponent was stronger, faster, and trained to kill. If he tried to fight back the same way, he would lose. But maybe there was another way. He forced himself to stand straight, wiping the blood from his lip. "You talk a lot," he said, his voice steady. "Are you stalling?" The warrior narrowed his eyes. "What did you say?" David smirked, even though his body screamed in pain. "You're afraid, aren't you? Afraid that she chose me. Afraid that maybe, just maybe, I'm worth more than you think." The warrior's grip tightened on his blade. "You are nothing," he growled. David saw his chance. "Then prove it," he challenged. "Fight me without the blade." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Liara's brother hesitated, his pride and honor warring within him. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, he threw the blade aside. David had to suppress a sigh of relief. He had just removed his opponent's greatest advantage. But he still wasn't safe. The warrior charged. David dodged, ducking under a powerful punch. He moved fast, using every ounce of energy left in his body. He couldn't overpower his opponent, but he could outthink him. As the warrior swung again, David didn't dodge. Instead, he stepped forward, twisting his body at the last second. The momentum sent the warrior off balance. In that moment, David struck, using all his weight to drive his elbow into the warrior's ribs. The impact sent the warrior stumbling. The crowd gasped. David didn't stop. He moved fast, grabbing the warrior's arm and using his own strength against him. With a final twist, he sent the warrior crashing onto the ground. Silence. Then, slowly, the warrior pushed himself up, his expression unreadable. He locked eyes with David, then gave a single nod. "You fought well, human," he said. "You have earned your place." David exhaled shakily, barely believing what had just happened. Layara ran to his side, her eyes shining with relief. "You did it," she whispered. David managed a weak smile. "I think I need a nap." The crowd erupted in cheers, and for the first time since he had landed on this strange planet, David realized he had just changed his fate.